Sir.
You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby!
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vogt.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes. Episode 149. We are one episode away from 150 episodes, so we're feeling pretty good. But without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., 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 and all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota. He is Paul Vogt, the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
the fact that we're one episode away from 150 still completely blows my mind. And I mean, we've been on longer than most television shows. We just continue to keep on doing it. And here we are, and we are just rolling right through it. Another great show lined up as always.
Well, when you said keeping on, I immediately thought Keenum's Keepers.
Of course.
We're going to keep on keeping on. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Whole deal. So we already got zoners chiming in, and Lucas, our guy, he says, let's go. And hey, I'm ready, man. We got a lot to talk about. Tonight we got some Viking talk, because obviously there was a big trade that happened this past week, and there might be another trade coming our way again. And before we even start those, when we start Tater Tot Hot Take, we do have, I guess semi-breaking news. It did happen a little earlier, but we'll go from there. And then we're going to talk about the controversy that was with the Minnesota Twins. Not today, the previous night. We got to talk about that. So that's what we got for Hot Take. Tonight we got some table topics. We are back with some table topics. We got some new ones for you, and I think you guys are going to really like them. There's one that's pretty funny, so we'll do that one. ARA, we're talking about Jamorant and whatnot, so be tuned in for that whole spiel, and obviously we got some good ones coming your way as well. So, and shield shoutouts, as always. So, let's get it going. Voldy, zoners, for some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, we are back for some Tater Tot Hot Take. We start off, obviously, you see the lower third. We're going to get to that in a second, but we have some kind of sort of breaking news per se, and we're going to let the drum roll go for a second. Jordan Addison has signed his rookie deal with the Minnesota Vikings. Applause out to him. It was going to happen. It's nice to know that he's locked in. He's ready to go. Him and JJ are going to be a pretty good duo, along with KJ Osborne, Hawkinson, the whole offense. So we're feeling pretty good about it. So Voldy, so far with rookie minicamp, you got to like what you see from Jordan Addison. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, they put a lot of praise in him being a first-round pick, and obviously being another first-round weapon that the Vikings can get a hold on. And you know what? If he impresses early on, hopefully that's just a good start of many things to come for him in purple.
Let's go. Jordan Addison. Zoners, let us know what you think about Jordan Addison and the Vikings right now. But let's get to our top story. The Minnesota Vikings, it happened. They traded Zadariussmith. Now, we kind of knew that this would happen. They traded him to the Browns. They received fifth-round picks in return, which I think is beneficial to add some draft equity. So I think that's a good thing. And obviously it was a cash dump. They freed up $10 million in cap space. They only have to take about literally $1 million or so from that contract that he had with Minnesota. Yep. So it was a great deal for the Vikings. They add some more cap space, which they do desperately need and whatnot. So, Voldy, I think we said this on the socials medias, and the zoners can chime in here too, but this whole ordeal with Zadarius at the end of the season, it's just weird. He was all for being in Minnesota. He really liked, him and Daniil were, buddy-buddy. They were doing interviews together and whatnot, and then something he didn't like, and then he tweeted, "Oh, thanks Minnesota, I really liked being here," and bye. So that was kind of odd. So Voldy, zoners, what are your guys' thoughts on this whole Zadarius situation here?
I think a lot of it probably comes down to, maybe the change in personnel as well. Obviously, you do bring in a defensive coordinator in Brian Flores as well, who's going to be running, obviously, a different system, most likely, than what was going to be to the benefit of Zadarius, too. Obviously playing in a lot of games where, quite possibly he's injured and obviously laboring as well, getting up there in age. The contract did not really, the risk was not as well worth the reward in the end of it with Zadarius. And I just thought, looking at what he did, he put up 9.5 sacks, which 9.5 sacks of which occurred in the first 9 games of the season, but in the second half of the season didn't really live up to what we expected out of him coming out of Green Bay as well. But there was some hope that maybe he'd help and turn things around in the back half of the season, really help solidify the defensive side of things. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite fully there. You look at, too, with what, with the front office and everything, with Kwefi Mensa, and then obviously you throw in a full offseason now with head coach with Kevin O'Connell as well. First really full offseason for those two, except for last year when you had them, come in and basically get the ball running right away too. There's a lot of things. You had to look at the salary cap. Who's going to be next? What are we looking at here in a lot of different areas too? Unfortunately, he's just one of those veterans that, went by. And then obviously we lose Eric Kendricks as well. Harrison Smith reworks his contract as well to stay with the Vikings. A lot of question marks there. And he was just another guy that, fell to the wayside. But luckily enough, at least the Vikings were able to get something for him instead of just completely cut him to begin with. But at least they were able to get a few 5th-round draft picks out of him in his time with Cleveland too.
Yep, and I agree. And you look at the second half of the season. I mean, that's the big talking point here with Zadarius Smith. And he didn't produce. There were some injuries that are factored in, and obviously, that's understandable. But I get where the Vikings were coming from in that aspect of, like, look, he did really great at the I mean, he was the leading guy in sacks for a while,
right.
I mean, defensive player of the month, I think he got, or something like that. And then all of a sudden, the drop-off was just so, I mean, it just, something happened. And there was either a tweak or he wasn't the same and things like that. And so I think he was upset that the Vikings came to him and said, hey, could you restructure? And I think he took that as an insult. And he just was like, no, I'm not, and I don't want to be here, which is weird. And I don't really understand it. He was so happy to be a Viking when the Vikings came and got him, and then just a switch flipped, and he didn't want to be here. He tweets out that stuff. If you don't want to be here, fine. I mean, we'll trade you. And the one thing that, it's just, it doesn't make sense. You go to a new place, you love it, and then all of a sudden you just, you want me to take a pay cut? No way. He has had an injury. He's had injury issues. And we have to factor that in as well. And I don't blame the Vikings for doing that. So, and also you need cap space, right?
Right.
And he was not happy with the way the Vikings were trying to, and they thought, well, we just got to trade him. And obviously this is a good deal for the Vikings because you free up cap space, you add some draft picks, great. But is this signifying, if they end up trading Dalvin Cook, are they trying to make room for someone or more people? Or for next year? Do we know? I don't know. Where are they now? No, just kidding. We'll go from there. So J-Man, our guy, J-Man, he started hot, but later in the season, he didn't perform as well, in my opinion. Good riddance. And I think that was a lot of people's opinions, too, regarding with Zadarius there. And I agree with Jared. I'd say good riddance. He doesn't want to be here, fine. We'll ship you off to the Browns. And then he went on their social media or social medias, and Zadarius was saying, like, we're going to win the division, we're going to go to the playoffs, and I'm like, you got to get by the Bengals, you got to get by the Ravens, and the Steelers aren't no slouch either. So you got your work cut out for you here. We'll go with that, and then Lucas says, what we can get for him and save. Exactly. So, all right, bye Zadarius, I guess. That's why I tweeted. I'm like, okay, bye. Like, that's so odd, but whatever. So, let's move on to our guy, Dalvin Cook, the chef. This is interesting, and there's been a lot of talk as of late that the Vikings are looking to trade him, but then they're saying, well, I'm fine if we hold on to him. You know, I think there's no issue holding on with him. Maybe restructure and, you know, free up some cap space there. Or if you cut him, then you do eat some dead cap if you do.
Right.
That's the downside to it. But if you trade him, you still have to eat up some dead cap, or not dead cap, but you have to pay for some of his salary and whatnot if you trade him to another team. So, with that being said, there's been some talk about him not being on the banner when they revealed the schedule. They have Alexander Madison. Could that be a sign? Yes and no. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on all these rumors about Dalvin Cook? And do you think, and I'll ask this of the Zoners, do you think that they should trade him and get some draft equity, or maybe a player or so? What do you think?
I mean, I am just completely surprised by the fact of how quickly everybody has turned against Dalvin Cook, basically since the last 6 games of the season. It's just completely a completely different script of just, you know, how we need this guy at the start of the season. He's going to be a big factor in the offense, get him out of the backfield, and obviously being helpful in the running game too. And then just like trade him, get rid of him, cut him. He's worthless. He's no good to us. It's like, what happened? Literally, what happened to the love of Dalvin Cook? The fact that we got a steal of him in the second round when we drafted him, and obviously, you know, he did hurt his knee, and then obviously he's been dealing with the shoulder issues last couple seasons too. But I mean, that's just the wear and tear of a pro NFL running back too, is you're going to get a lot of those injuries too. And, you know, I mean, the fact that we've gotten as much as we can out of him already in this amount of time, I mean, we're really we're playing with house money right now is kind of the thing. One more injury, I think Dalvin's gonna be done for to begin with before he's even got any worth left in him. I would say I even would have said even last season, let's find a way to see if we can get rid of him is a thing. Not like get rid of him, he's worthless. Like he's still pretty productive. If he goes anywhere else, he's gonna get touches. And like if you would have said last offseason, hey, we're gonna trade Dalvin Cook, I would have been fine with it. Now it's like, okay, sure. Like I think Alexander Madison's still a very capable running back. We've got running backs like crazy to work with as of late too. I mean, we had guys even last season as well, but it really, who's going to be the third, fourth guy in the depth chart to step into the number 2 slot in the running back role if we do end up trading Dalvin Cook? Yes, obviously unveiling the season schedule and having the banner out there without Dalvin Cook is a little bit of a telling sign as well, especially when you go with the backup running back in Alexander Madison as the guy that's going to be featured on there too. That's a little bit of a telling sign. Let's just hope that the Vikings and the graphics team weren't that petty enough to throw shade out there towards Dalvin Cook. But like, I would seriously take some serious looks in the offseason. And you know, like right now, obviously you've got rookie mini camps going on. You're going to be having some interesting players, coming up with OTAs and everything too. Like, see what you can get out of them and what's going to be the serious moves. Because obviously the Vikings aren't afraid to get rid of anybody. I mean, they got rid of Eric Kendricks. They moved on from Zadariussmith, who was a rented player for a season. I would be very surprised if the Vikings didn't trade. Am I going to be disappointed they didn't trade Dalvin Cook? Absolutely not. I think it would just be very surprising that they didn't get something for him, even though obviously he's still coming off, still battling those shoulder issues too, and he's on the backside of his career right now too.
Yep, and I'm kind of in the same boat. If they trade him, fine. Just make sure you get something that is going to be beneficial for us. And obviously that's the goal. I mean, you don't want to get fleeced, obviously, and whatnot. So you got to get something good in return, but you can't have it like the Zadarius trade, because I feel like if the Vikings just dumped him for 5th-rounders, that's ridiculous. I mean, you have to be asking a little bit more for Dalvin Cook like that. So the whole social media thing, I'm looking at it, and it's pretty much 3 starters, right? You have Kirk, you have Hawk, you have JJ. And then Alexander Madison, which is fine. Like, I don't have any issue with it. But it's kind of odd. You have 3 starters, but then you have the backup with Madison. So I feel like that's a little odd, and I think with everyone else would agree that that is a little odd, right?
Right.
But at the same time, maybe they were just trying to mix it up and they didn't realize, oh, crap, I guess we didn't. Or they sure as heck could have, thrown the shade there. I don't know.
Right.
We'll never know. Whatever comes out of Egan, literally it's 5-6 minutes away from me. I mean, I could check, but I don't know if they'd let me in. But maybe
Probably
we can
not
get
right
some. Maybe we can get some credentials for me and do something with that. Anyway, but so we have that going for us. But I like Dalvin. I've always been a big fan of Dalvin Cook. You have as well. You said he was the steal of the draft in 2017, and it would be sad to see him go, but at the same time, hey, we've got a lot of good running backs back there. You have Madison, you have Wongwu, you have Ty Chandler, who was going through some knee issues, and then you just drafted a guy in the 7th round who is quite electric, and I think really fits the Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips offense, right? With Dwayne McBride, and I like what I see, from that running back crew. Now, does Dalvin necessarily fit in this offense? I think he can, but it seems to me like O'Connell wants, and I don't want to speak for O'Connell, but I almost feel like O'Connell wants a guy that's going to fit their offense, right? And I think the reason why they re-signed Madison, which I was kind of surprised about, but at the same time, maybe they're just getting him ready to be, the guy and whatnot, and they're going to get rid of Dalvin. But there's a lot of potential there. We'll get into, we probably won't have time for potential teams that the Vikings should trade with. I'll just kind of list them off here and then, see where you go with it. The first team that's listed in this CBS article, Court, if you're tuning in, number 1's the Dallas Cowboys. So
they need a running back.
There's that. They do need a running back. The Chicago Bears, yeah, they're gonna trade in the division, guys. That's smart. Oh my God, that is terrible. No, that's ridiculous. Arizona Cardinals, yeah, you have James Conner, but I don't know. Los Angeles Chargers, I think, is a potential. And then the San Fran 49ers, no way. No way. I would not do that because they have Christian McCaffrey, for God's sake. Yeah,
they got Debo, man.
Yeah, and then they have Debo. So why are you, putting out all that? I don't know. I guess this article's really not thick because everyone's saying the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins are the team that everyone was picking for him to go. That's his hometown team.
Yeah, I was going to say, hometown team.
So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks.
We'll see.
Post June 2nd or something, I think the Vikings could make a move, or it's pre June 1st or whatever it is. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Court says, we good on running back, but I would pick him up if you cut him. Can't win with an expensive running back. Trust me.
True.
And then he does the winky sign, which is true.
True.
But the thing is, Dalvin's never had to play center, Court.
Hey. Got him.
Shots fired there, but no, I'm just kidding.
Roasted.
But, yeah, I don't know what the idea of having Zeke play center in that game against the 49ers and then him getting pancaked on his butt. So I enjoyed that. That was funny. So, moving on. Voldy, you're wearing the awesome jersey that are the light blue Jays for the Twins and the awesome M hat. The Twins got robbed at gunpoint.
Yeah. Straight up.
Court says no comment. It's good to have you back, Court. I'm glad you're back, my friend. Thank you for coming back and giving us we needed to throw in some cowboy stuff for you, So
Of course, have to.
yeah, there you go. So the Twins got screwed. The MLB umpire Phil Cuzzy, he absolutely got destroyed by not only Twins fans but almost everyone on the social medias for making a very bad call. There was a ball that he called fair that was clearly a foul ball, and that's what kind of caused the Twins to lose that game. So the Twins just lost today, unfortunately. Yeah. They struggle against the Dodgers, especially in Los Angeles. What are your thoughts on this whole ordeal with the umpire, Voldy, and hopefully you can shed some light on what the hell happened over there.
Bad timing is what it all really comes down to as well. Just a lot harder than it needed to be for Kirilloff at the plate. Bases loaded. I mean, you're in an extra innings, crucial game as well to open up the series, let alone, even to get a win in a tough place to play in Dodger Stadium. And the umpires just made it much, much more harder than it needed to be, especially in that key situation. I mean, that was it was a bad call to begin with. You would think that both sides would be fair, but especially being in extra innings at Dodger Stadium too, things probably leaned a little bit more towards the home team in that one as well. Because, unfortunately for the umpires, they don't get paid by the minute when doing these games as well. So it was bad. It was just a bad call. I'm just surprised it wasn't Angel Hernandez that made the call. Oh, that one, and Phil Cuzzy was the one that did it. And I mean, I've seen the video a few times, and now just changed the whole plate appearance for Kirilloff as well, because literally at that point, anything is a strike at that point if he's calling a one up and away on him too, and he's got to even try harder to see if anything's coming at him to even try and swing at it. It's bad all around. It didn't work to the Twins' favor on that one, and unfortunately they lost that one late out in L.A.
And I guess the announcers for the Dodgers were kind of on our side, I guess, a little bit. And they said, and I quote from our article here, if it lets me. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. They said he never had a chance in that at-bat, referring to Kirilloff. That's not good in a key spot. You have to be better than that. He had to reach across the plate. Boy, oh boy, Phil Cuzzy is just made being a major league hitter harder than it already is. Both sides of the plate were an extra 3 inches. We shall take it. I mean, that's not even close. That's impossible for a hitter. So, if this is obviously what he did was absurd. And again, Voldy, Minnesota sports, they hate us. They just, national media, they hate us, and now the umpires hate us too. For no reason. There's no reason. There's no reason at all why they hate, Minnesota sports, and but we kind of do it to ourselves. Some of the time. I want to just say some of the time.
Some of the time.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is.
So it seems like I don't know. Maybe if he gets fired, but I mean, what is the MLB going to write a statement saying, "We're sorry, Twins, that he goofed that up"? So. I guess we'll see, but I wanted to kind of touch on that controversy and get everyone's thoughts. So let us know in the comments what you guys think, and we'll go from there. All right, let's do some table topics. And obviously the zoners are always involved with this too. We got 3 good ones for tonight. They're fun. They're really fun. So hopefully you guys will chat about it in the chat and let us know. So not just us, you guys too. So. Anyway, let's get it going with some table topics.
The tables have been set. It's time for MinneZona's Table Topics.
All right, have a seat at the table. It's time for some table topics. Voldy, Zoners. We got 3 tonight, and they're pretty good. And I think we're going to start off. You know what? Let's start off with this one. I think this one's good for lead off.
All right.
So I'll say this twice so everyone can get it. Do you, Voldy, Zoners, have any superstitions? And that is for, you can, before a game, after a game, during a game, or things like that. Think back at your Little League, high school, college days. I mean, what was a big superstition that you had? Like before a game, after, whatever you want to say. Voldy, what do you got?
When thinking about this question, I know we were talking about these before the show. I know that one thing I always remember from high school baseball, especially during my senior year, I always had to have like the same kind of meal, pregame meal of sorts as well. And usually, the moms would organize, you get like a Subway meal thing, like a little 6-inch cold cut meal or whatever. But I was kind of my own norm as well. So I got like a chicken sandwich. It was like rotisserie chicken on like a baker's bun with like Funyuns and like a Gatorade basically. And that's what I did for 20-ish games in high school, at least for my senior year. Other than that, that's kind of the big one that I kind of remember from those days.
Yeah, I like that one. That's pretty cool.
Now it got me thinking. Now I'm hungry again. So. Yeah,
there you go. So before I tell mine, do you have any superstitions that you had before games when you were playing? It can be any point in time and whatnot. But for me, I didn't necessarily have any like superstitions that some people do, like, they have to wear a certain pair of socks or, things like that. It's nothing like that. But I did always listen to music. That's kind of, I feel like, everyone says this, but listening to music before games and things like that would always just kind of get me revved up and like ready to go. And, on the days that I didn't listen to music, for some reason we would never play well. It could be football, or, my freshman year, or it could be, baseball, Little League, things like that. Basketball, usually I would listen to music and, get stuff ready. But, like, it's fun when you can kind of get in the zone of like, okay, I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to hit someone. I'm ready to, drop like 20, 30 points or something like that, or hit like, get like 4 hits in a game or something. But basically, I feel like that's kind of my superstition, is listening to music, getting in the right mindset, getting ready to go. And, knowing who the opponent is, seeing how, what motivation can I bring, or it's like, what can I do to, help my team win, things like that. So
yep.
That's kind of mine. Zoners, let us know what you guys have. Do you have any superstitions that you do? So, I guess for the show, if we're doing for the show, I usually have something to drink, either Gatorade, water, because my throat gets parched, because when I'm doing all this stuff.
We do a lot of talking.
We do a lot of talking, so we got to make sure we're staying hydrated. So stay hydrated out there, zoners. Mm-hmm. So, sports superstitions, okay? So these are, professional athletes that do things before a game that they, usually, like, it's like KG with the powder and whatnot. Before the game, LeBron does it, obviously. Mm-hmm. So you got that. Okay, so Peyton Manning. I think this one everyone pretty much knows. Reads the entire game program, which I think people usually know. We knew that. Bjorn Borg. Lucky beard, I guess. I guess. Oh, you got a lucky beard. You got it going. So, hey, good for you. Wade Boggs. Pre-game chicken dinner. Hey, I mean, you have the rotisserie chicken on a specific
chicken man.
There you go, Voldy. So there you go. All right, we're dipping into PG-13 here, so get ready for this
Yep.
one. I didn't
Do it.
know this, so I'm glad we did this one. But here we go. Jason Giambi wears a golden thong.
Yep. I knew that one, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Hubba.
that's just that's interesting.
That's an
didn't
image
know.
I did not need in my head right now.
Nope. Really didn't. So,
Oh my
kinda
gosh.
go from there. All right. This one's weird. Like the one before was very weird, but the one right here, Jason Terry,
The
the
Jet.
Mavericks and played for Mavericks. I think he played for the Heat at one point. But
Played for the Celtics too.
Celtics, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And he sleeps in the shorts of the opposing team. 4 games.
All right. Cool.
That's a lot of money you have to. Well, you got to buy over 30 teams, so I mean, I guess it's fine.
I
not
guess.
a problem. I guess so. We'll go from there, and obviously the toss, like we like to do here. Don't worry, I will pick them up. So that's what I usually do. All right, let's do this one. I want to save this one, so let's do this. What's the most beautiful outdoor sporting event? So that could be baseball, could be tennis. That's a sport, but
Right.
and shout out to Jeremiah.
Shout out.
Shout out. And the football, things like that. So Voldy, Zoners, what's the most beautiful outdoor sporting event? What do you got?
One that comes to mind that kind of happened recently too. One is a Kentucky Derby for some reason. That usually comes to mind as well. A lot of glitz, a lot of glam, fancy people all dressed up in their highfalutin clothes and everything. That one kind of comes to mind when it comes to beauty and the charms and the excellence that is with the Kentucky Derby. I would say that one. That's one of the more beautiful outdoor experiences and sporting events.
Okay. And I see that, and that makes sense. And Kentucky Derby, betting on which horse is going to win, things like that. It always seems exciting. Almost every celebrity, I feel like's gone to that thing and bet on something or whatnot. Man, it's tough. I mean, I don't want to be like, oh, football. I don't want to do that. Baseball, I think is up there for sure. I think that's pretty nice. But like outdoor, I think I'm going to kind of go off the cuff here. I'm not saying it's necessarily my favorite, but for all you tennis lovers out there, Wimbledon. Going out for Wimbledon, it seems like people really enjoy doing that and watching tennis. Me, not so much, but I just want to, show some love and say, hey, there's a lot of people that watch it and enjoy it, and you should. I mean, it's not only just for men, but women. You have Serena Williams, Venus Williams. You have that whole thing going on with tennis. You have, Naomi Osaka, and you have, all these, tennis players and that do this like almost every day, and anybody can win, and it's very it's an appealing product for a lot of people. So I'd say Wimbledon is there's some beauty in that, and people kind of sort of dress up. I don't know. I don't really watch it that much, but a little bit. We'll go with a little bit, and usually towards the end, people are interested to see who wins, and they hold up that big thing, their trophy thing, whatever. I don't know what it is. So, but it's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, very cool. So, I'd say that one. Obviously you can throw football in there. You can throw in, outdoor activity with cricket. So there's that. That's another good one. So, but I like the Kentucky Derby. Well thought on with that. All right, our next one, or the fact on the back, the Tevis Cup is a 24-hour, 100-mile horse ride from Lake Tahoe to Auburn, California.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long way But hey, you know what? I mean, I think it would be beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I'm sure.
Like the scenery and things like that. Pebble Beach, I just thought of for golf.
Beach,
you know, that's pretty cool. So there's
the Masters.
Masters, obviously, Augusta. So we got that going. I should have just done that one. But Wimbledon, I want to show some love too. So we got to show some love there. But the Tevis Cup, 24-hour, 100-mile horse ride from Lake Tahoe to Auburn, California. So we got that going for us. All right. So here's the one that we've been kind of teasing a little bit, but
all right.
I don't know, anything with money, I feel like people will, chime in and whatnot. So here's what we got, Zoners and Voldy. If you were guaranteed, just guaranteed, $500,000 yearly, a yearly salary, would you become a sumo wrestler? Voldy, Zoners.
Absolutely.
Let us know. Go.
Absolutely. They are treated like kings over in Japan. I mean, I've seen a couple of things about sumo wrestlers, although it is a little bit of a shady background that they deal with and some of the people that run sumo wrestling and everything. But if you play ball, and they will take care of you in many, many different ways as well. So they've got your back as long as you watch theirs as well. $500,000 to sumo wrestle? Absolutely. No questions about it.
It's a yearly thing, which is very nice. So you could, let's just say you go about, let's go like 5 to 8 years or so. And then you can retire and be like, you know what, I'm done doing that. I'm set for life. I'll go back, go from there. So here's my answer to that. Yes, absolutely, I would do it. Just because the money's really good, and who knows? I could lose every single sumo match. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm getting paid, making money, doing what I'm supposed to. But, if I want to win, obviously I'd try hard. And you could make even more, which I think you could work out. So, I would absolutely do it. And the more money, the better. So I would, it's not all about the money, but that is a pretty good price range, my friends.
Oh, yeah.
Very good price range there. So here's the fact on the bag. Zoners, would you do it? I assume everyone would say yes, but, just want to see a show of hands.
Right.
Say. So sumo wrestlers eat 20,000 calories per day. Must wear their hair in a top knot, must wear traditional dress 24/7, are not permitted to drive cars.
Yep.
There's a lot of rules to it. But if you're
a lot
making
of
that
eating,
much dough, man.
Proper dress, don't have to drive. What makes the day any different?
Yep. There you go. That ain't bad. And, you have to wear the, get up too. But you know what? You're covered mostly. So
yeah, exactly.
You got that going for us. You might have to do the golden thong like Giambi did, but I don't know. That's too good. But zoners, let us know what you got, and we'll go from there. So that's gonna do it for Table Topics this time around. Voldy, this air raid just needs to happen, and the first story, I feel like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. This situation's just bad with jamorant. We'll touch in on that. Obviously, there was some controversy with the Yankees and the Blue Jays and whatnot, and docrivers being fired by the Sixers and whatnot. So there's a lot to touch on with air raid this week here. So let's just get right into it. It is time for Observe or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you them off for us, please.
Well, it seems that the ongoing off-the-court issues for Jamorant will not be coming to an end anytime soon, as the Memphis Grizzlies star has been suspended from all team activities after, once again, a video posted on social media Saturday night, him showing a gun while circulating on an Instagram Live video with a friend, has led to him being suspended by the team as well. Now, the Grizzlies did suspend him in a statement which they released on this Sunday, pending a league review as well. Now, this also comes off the allegations as well, and obviously the activities that take place off the court as well. It was another instance as well where he was in a video posted back in March, him holding a gun while intoxicated at a nightclub in Denver. He was eventually suspended 8 games after meeting with the commissioner for the NBA. Then obviously him getting into a fight with a high school prospect during a pickup game as well, to which he was supposedly beating that boy in the head as well, and more issues for him off the court as well that do continue. But as it does continue to roll into as well, I haven't seen anything official, maybe as of the last couple hours as well, if the NBA has stepped in and say, yeah, you're going to be not playing very much next season. But is it absurd or approved? Will this be the last straw when it comes to the Grizzlies bringing back Jamorant, or are they going to find a way to cut bait with this one and try to clean their hands of the whole situation?
That's a great question. I just want to say this first before I answer that question, and just kind of reiterate here. You know what, Voldy? What was that saying that you had with OBJ? You know, great player. Go ahead and say it for us, please.
I think the one you're referring to has got $1 million talent, but he's got a 10-cent head, is what I believe is what we're going with here.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. And that is what's going on here. He met with Adam Silver. It seemed like Adam Silver was like, yeah, he's going to, he understands what happened there, and he shouldn't do that. And we should be fine.
He still did it anyway.
And he still did it anyway. And that is why you wonder why. You wonder why you think. And I saw the video, and the guy that put him on the camera during that Instagram Live is stupid for doing it, for one. Why do you have to show that you have a gun? And here's the thing. If you do have a gun, don't show it off. That's all I have to say. I mean, if you have a gun, don't show it off. And the fact that he's not only done that once, but twice now. And he is one of the top players, one of the most, most talented players in the NBA. And he does something as stupid as that. And obviously, Adam Silver is shocked by it too, and I think there's going to be a heavy, I think either fine or you could say suspension. I don't think he'll be playing a lot next season, and I think he really has to, learn from his mistakes here, because this guy doesn't get it. And if you're going to make a statement, you make a statement. If you're the NBA, you make a statement. You make a statement right freaking now, because this guy can't keep doing this stuff. But this, I don't think so. I think it's absurd though, because I don't think this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. I don't think they will part ways. I feel like, this is 2 strikes. 3 strikes, obviously, what's the deal? You're out, right?
Yep.
So I'd say it's absurd, but another thing that I think he has to realize is there are a lot of kids that are growing up that are watching the NBA, and they're looking at him and thinking like, well, why is he doing this? Like, we're looking at him as a role model and things like that. And
exactly.
We want to be like Jamorant, and he's doing stupid stuff like that. It's showing what not to do, and that's the sad part about it. So I think it's absurd. I don't think they will. I think they're just going to hit him with a big suspension, a heavy fine, and go from there. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think one of the things that kind of swayed me a little bit when I initially posted this in this morning as well, that JJ Redick posted, or was talking on First Take with Stephen A. Smith as well. Like, in the grand scheme of it as well, no laws were broken with him having a gun. There are conceal and carry, open carry laws in Tennessee. This was happening in Memphis or in the state of Tennessee. And then the incident that happened in Denver, there is carry laws as well in Colorado. That is a situation. The thing that frustrates me as well, you would think that someone of the stature that does have for Jamorant, and recognizing that he is obviously at a higher level than most NBA players, that you would think he would kind of wisen up about something like this and be like, and realize that maybe I shouldn't be pointing a gun or having a gun. Like, I automatically assume every professional athlete has some sort of firearms in their household or some sort of security detail, or at least buddies around them as well that look after their interests that do have firearms, because, there are a lot of crazy people in the world and know where people live and maybe want to get a little too close for people's comforts as well. I fully understand that. I don't have a gun, but I am not afraid to say that maybe I would consider at some point as well. I'm not going to go around showing it off to everybody that has, every inkling of that happening. But you would think at a player of his level that would be, smart enough to recognize maybe I should be, flaunting this around like, you're an NBA player, dude. You're not a gangster. You're not a hardened criminal. Like, you get paid millions of dollars to play a game. Like, you don't need to, have this mentality of like it's you in the streets or something like that. You're fine. You're well taken care of. Stop trying to be something that you're not. Is this going to lead to the Grizzlies, parting ways with him? No, but I could see a fact that maybe another suspension comes through, even though a law wasn't broken, but a slap on the wrist the first time around isn't going to do it this time. But yeah, I would certainly consider a much larger suspension that would be coming his way that he may appeal, and it may be reduced as well. But something's got to come through to realize, obviously he can't continue this type of behavior. Otherwise, it's going to get way out of hand, and something drastic could happen as well.
Yep, and not only that, but let me add in with this too, is the Memphis Grizzlies in general now have a serious problem, especially when Steven Adams had to call a team meeting to stop going out after games and screwing around, going to parties, going to strip clubs, even a cough Jamorant.
Yep.
I mean, it just shows a lot of people don't like the Grizzlies just because they don't really take a lot of this stuff seriously. And Steven Adams, I applaud him for trying to get them together and whatnot, but Ja doesn't listen. He's like, I'm a star, so I don't have to worry about it. Well,
exactly.
You should worry right now, buddy. So I'll go from it. We'll see if the suspension, big fine, all that goes through. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, this time, another story in the NBA here. And initially, the conversation we're going to be having is whether or not a team should part with a certain coach of theirs. And, well, they decided to beat me to the punch as well. The Philadelphia 76ers fell once again in the Eastern Conference semifinals for a third straight season, this time losing the Boston Celtics in Game 7. Not a close one. No, this was a drubbing, 112-88, the final, thus bringing the record for Doc Rivers in a crucial closeout series. Not very good for him, and unfortunately that now makes it, a not so favorable record in closeout games, if not Game 7s altogether. I think Doc Rivers' teams have lost 7 straight Game 7s or something of that sort as well. Not good, but still very productive. I mean, Doc Rivers was one of 5 head coaches in NBA history to record a winning record in at least 16 consecutive seasons. And, well, unfortunately, he got fired because of it as well. Now bringing another list of coaches that had pretty good seasons in the past that got fired this season. But for a third straight season, the Sixers are eliminated in the playoffs. But with Doc Rivers and the 76ers, with that loss after Game 7, was it a smart move by the 76ers to let go Doc Rivers as head coach?
Well, I honestly think that them firing him was kind of a little too brash. Or, you know what? I'd say it was brash because I don't think you can look at this situation and think, oh, this had to be Doc's fault. And what the man has brought you to all these to the playoffs, and you've been this close. And it's like, well, under Doc Rivers coach teams, they have it has to be the players too, right? Joel Embiid, after that game, said, me and James can't be doing everything. People have to, chip into it. So here's the issue. There's a lot of egos in that locker room, and one of them being Joel Embiid, and another one being James Harden. Obviously, there's been some cryptic stuff that he has put out too, and it seems like there's a lot of weird stuff going on in that locker room. So I think it's 100% absurd that they fired Doc Rivers. I think he is a fantastic coach. I think that he has just gotten the short end of the stick on a lot of things, and you can look at when he was with the Clippers, they were pretty good with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul. Boston, he won a title. Yep. He's a proven winner, and he's a darn good coach. I really like Doc Rivers, and I think the Sixers are going to regret that. And I just, whatever's out there, I don't see them getting a high-profile coach like Doc, and I think they're going to really struggle. And James Harden seems like he wants to be a free agent, so who are you going to add to the Sixers there? So we'll see. Court says this wasn't Doc's fault. I think he is done. He has to be. He's notorious for choking in games, but when your two MVPs put up poopy numbers, there's only so much a coach can do.
Poopy.
Yeah. I could see him. Yeah, like you said, I could see him be done, retire. He's had a Hall of Fame career. There's no
certainly
ifs, ands, or buts about that. I just feel like he just needs another shot, and I feel like he can be a coach somewhere else where he can, be successful. There's a lot of things put in, and obviously the Game 7s and whatnot. But I think it's absurd. I don't think they should have fired him. So, Voldy, what do you got?
It's unfortunate for Doc Rivers. Obviously, he has the championship pedigree as a head coach, and, it's unfortunate that the recent streak has to come against teams that, have been superior in a lot of ways. And it came down to a team that he led to a championship, beating him for a team that, he was hoping to bring a championship to. Like, I would like to see Philly make it to the finals as well, but it felt nice that the Celtics were able to, take down Philly at least one more time in that one. But, was it the right move? I don't know, honestly. I think it was, Doc Rivers has weathered a lot of the storm when it comes to Philadelphia, the whole Ben Simmons thing as well, then Joel Embiid as well. Like, the sad fact, the last couple of games that P.J. Tucker was putting up the big points for your teams too, a guy who's been a perennial, fourth, fifth man, maybe a guy off the bench as well. He's the one that's been, steering the offense in crunch situations. Probably speaking of the fact that, maybe there's not a lot of focus in the right areas, dealing with Embiid, getting James Harden through as well. Maybe it's going to take a move like this. You get in a different coach to hopefully put Philly on over as well. I would not be surprised if Doc hangs it up, maybe gives it one or two more seasons. Milwaukee is looking for a head coach as well. They're a team that's won a championship in the past in recent years. I would not be opposed to Doc Rivers going to Milwaukee. They've got the right players. They've got, I think they're like one or two guys away from making another run at a title as they did. I think 2019, I think that was when they won the title. But
I think it was a little sooner, but yeah. We'll look it up. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it was a lot sooner, but it very well could have been. I know that it was definitely. I'm pretty sure it's 20. I don't know. Nonetheless. But I could see Doc getting one more shot at something. But if he does, decide to hang him up, I think he's got a lot of good opportunities. Maybe he'll be on TV somewhere. There certainly isn't a lack of a need in that area because, guys are going in and out like crazy. And I think it'd be a good mouthpiece for some sort of network as well when it comes to coverage of the NBA, too. So, I mean, was it the right move? I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no at the same time. I'll just give it my stamp of approval.
All right, we'll see. We'll see if he gets on another team. And I mean, if the Wolves don't think Finchie's the guy, maybe Doc waits a year and no, I don't know. I mean, that's a very it's a slippery slope there. So I doubt it, but it'd be interesting. Court says, I don't feel like it was a smart move, but you look at the other teams that either made the finals or even win the finals that moved on from their coach. Doc couldn't even make the Eastern Conference Finals. It's a good point.
True.
It's a good point. My guess is he gets the Suns job. I think that's actually a perfect setup. That you get rid of Monty Williams. Yeah. I think that was a mistake, too. The Suns getting rid of him because he wasn't the problem. You brought in KD, and, he's got to learn the offense, things like that. I mean, they're good, but I don't think that was because of coaching. I think that's ridiculous, but it is what it is, and nothing we can do about it. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, with the release of the NFL schedule that happened this past week, the NFL has added a new twist to the holiday season, getting ready and rolling as well. With the game that'll be taking place the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, will have an NFL game that's going to be a hot commodity for years to come. Obviously, there is, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day as well with football in recent years. Thanksgiving is always a hot commodity football game as well. But now teams are starting to lobby, hey, let's play the game, right after Thanksgiving on Black Friday. And some teams are starting to put their foot in the door and say, hey, we want to be, the Cowboys and the Lions of Thanksgiving. And we want to be the team that gets the Black Friday game every year, one of them being the New York Jets. They will be hosting the inaugural Black Friday game, the Jets will, against Miami Dolphins. That'll be on Amazon Prime, or Amazon, I should say, with their streaming platform as well coming up here on Black Friday, so that'll be a good matchup as well. At least it stands right now. But some other teams are starting to lobby a little bit more for that Black Friday game. One of them being another AFC team, that being the Cincinnati Bengals. They would like to be the annual Black Friday matchup as well. But some other teams that do have a little bit of vested interest in that one as well. There is a possibility of looking at maybe even an Eagles and Giants matchup as well, NFC matchup too, for that Black Friday game. But is it absurd or approved? Should it be the New York Jets that do get to host the Black Friday game each and every year?
The Jets, I mean, do you want to really watch the Jets on a Black Friday game, Amazon Prime? Gosh, I just feel like with the NFL, obviously we don't like the Thursday night games. I've never been a fan of Thursday night games. But you have the Black Friday game? Okay, I'm interested. I'm somewhat interested. Should they be the host of the Black Friday game? I mean, the team right now, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, maybe kind of, but yeah, with Detroit, I feel like that's, the obviously a tradition, which you can't mess up. Dallas, obviously being, and then you have the extra primetime game for other teams and whatnot. I'm going to say absurd. And the reason why I say that is because, it's just any time that they've been on primetime these past, even since, 2011, the butt fumble happened, So I just feel like everything that's gone on from that has kind of put things into perspective of maybe the Jets shouldn't be on prime time. So I'm going to say absurd. I'm going to go off it, and, I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers' ugly face on Black Friday and whatnot, too. So we have that going for us. But Even though he's with the Jets and he's done with the Green Bay, that's fine with me. Whatever. But yeah, I think it's absurd. I think there's another team that I feel like that could go in there and kind of be the host team. But if it is the Jets, I really don't care, to be honest. But I'd rather have someone else. Voldy, what do you think?
My first question is, are the Jets going to be good in 10 years? Because that's the way I'm kind of looking at this. If your team is going to be, obviously the host for, the annual game, like the Lions haven't been good in recent years, up until, the last couple of years. They've made some noise here and there. And then you get the Cowboys as well. They're never going to be a disappointment. They are going to be a disappointment. But at least when they host a team, they're going to at least play a full game in that one. But I could see the Jets this working out 1 to 2 years max on this. It really all comes because they're trying to capitalize on the whole Aaron Rodgers thing and get him prime time as much on there. Like, look, he's a Jet. Let's see how this plays out for us. But like right now, it's just not feasible to have them on every single, like the Lions and everything. It should just come down to at one point, like, okay, Jets versus, or I should say, Lions versus Cowboys. One of them gets kicked off the Thanksgiving game now and forever, because let's be honest, outside of Lions and Cowboys fans, nobody's going to be really paying to that one unless your team is actually playing in that game to begin with. But I mean, the one I certainly have a little bit more excitement for, it's the Bengals. Like, honestly, the Bengals, 10 years from now, I think they're still going to be pretty good if Joe Burrow's still there. And, the whole crew that they've got there, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, if they stick around, whatever young guys that they have come up in recent years too.
Right.
I mean, if they stay together for at least another 4 or 5 years, they could certainly make something happen for sure in the immediate. But I would definitely take Cincinnati over the Jets. I certainly would not want to watch them play each and every, Black Friday in that one. But it's completely absurd. I do not want the Jets to be the host for the Black Friday game.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And Court says everyone wants to be like the Cowboys.
Yep.
I think you had a typo right there, Court. Everyone doesn't want to be like the Cowboys. I think that's what you meant. So no one really does, and no one wants a stupid star in their helmet. Ba-doom-tsh. Anyway, shots fired. Next one, Voldy.
Well, we go back to the NBA. I hate talking this much about basketball, especially the NBA, but hey, we got to do it here, especially with the NBA draft lottery that took place the other night. And, well, lo and behold, the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes have been won. But the San Antonio Spurs, they are taking the number 1 overall pick in the draft lottery, as they were one of 3 teams that had the highest chances of getting that number 1 overall pick. And, of course, they are slated to take French super prospect Victor Wembanyama as the number 1 overall pick, the 7-footer who was a tall drink of water, 110 pounds soaking wet. If you turn sideways, you won't see him. That's how thin he is. But the last 2 times that the Spurs have had the number 1 pick, well, they just ended up drafting guys like David Robinson in 1987 and then Tim Duncan in 1997. So things kind of worked out for them. A few titles here and there. Same head coach that they've had since, at least the turn of the century as well, and Greg Popovich. But certainly does bring to mind as well, with winning the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, can the Spurs get the same result that they've had in the past in drafting such prospects as David Robinson and also Tim Duncan?
It's been weird since, like when Duncan retired, the Spurs haven't been the same. And obviously you had DeMar DeRozan there for a little bit. And, they had a little bit of spurt, but it wasn't the same.
Right.
I feel like they have like magic fairy dust that they put on these players, and then they're able to be like really good for like the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. And Pop's Pop, he's good, and he's one heck of a coach, and I think he's already been talking with Victor and whatnot, and I think it's pretty much set in stone that they'll get him. He's a 7-footer, like you said. I think if he puts on, some more, muscle and whatnot, I think he'll be all right. But Pop just knows how to, build a team. And the question is who are you who else are you going to add to that team? Because they're like one of the worst teams in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
And it's, it's going to be interesting to see. And Court says, shocking, Spurs get a big man, big man rights, kickstart their franchise. Pop staying for 5+ more years. Yeah, it sounds about right. He really enjoys it, and
he's just holding the seat for Becky Hammond to take over.
That's true. That's very true. You never know what'll happen there. So, I'll say stamp of approval. Obviously, he's got to prove himself. Is he going to be good? Things like that. I just think they have Popovich, and I think it's just going to happen. It just kind of works out in the Spurs way. So we got that. Voldy, what do you think?
I could certainly see this being a jump start and kind of revitalization of the Spurs as well. 7'5". I mean, they've got the connection already. Him being French, Tony Parker being French as well, a longtime Spur as well, Greg Popovich. That certainly does help in a lot of respects too. But I mean, 7'5", that's easy to throw around when you got guys that are half that size, but got a lot more muscle and can certainly play NBA basketball compared to this 19-year-old as well. Like, I don't know if he's going to come in straight away and go and play, or if he's going to have to get a little bit more seasoning overseas, maybe play in the G League for a little bit before he gets the call up to the big boys as well. It's certainly a lot of question marks right off the bat, but obviously, you get something that you can build your future around as well. It always amazes me when you find these guys, like how quickly they become like the center of the universe. Like, what happened a year plus ago that this Victor Wembanyama went from nobody to being like can't miss prospect as well? Like, it always, like, how does this process work? Like, when LeBron James was, this can't miss, guy that national television, everybody had to have him and see him and watch him play. Like, what happened in the days, weeks, months, heck, even a year before, of where he went from nobody to being the, top prospect in the universe,
right,
for this to happen as well. I just don't know how this happens, and it always confuses me. Like, we got to be talking about Victor Wembanyama like he's the second coming of Christ or something like that. Like, what happened? Like, this guy's in France. He's not in America. He's not playing, he's not playing in high school, or he's not playing, Saturday afternoon pickups at LA Fitness or anything. Like, this is just somebody completely out of the blue. Like, who says that this guy is going to be, the best player ever? He can fizzle out. There's been a lot more of those lately than there actually have been success in a lot of areas. But could this be a revitalization of the Spurs? I certainly would like to see it. Good things happen when the Spurs are the best team in the NBA. Like, yes, the Golden State Warriors have had a nice run. The Lakers had their time as well. Boston's trying to fight their way back through as well, but there's just something you just can't get mad with the San Antonio Spurs win the NBA title, especially Greg Popovich. Like, he's like everybody's, favorite as well. I mean, I've yet to see or hear one person that's got anything bad to say about Greg Popovich, because he's just a guy. He's just a coach. I can understand other coaches and people hating them as well, but yeah, I can't find anything bad to say about Greg Popovich. He's been around long enough. He shoots straight from the hip, and this could be another one of those can't miss guys. But I mean, I don't know how long of a pet project this is going to be if he ends up being the number one guy for San Antonio. But all signs are pointing towards that right now.
Mm-hmm. So I just think it's just meant to happen, right?
Right.
So it's just, I think that's how it's going to go. And I do like Pop. I enjoy his press conferences and what he says. It's funny. He's kind of like Belichick in some aspect, just kind of, I don't give a crap what you think. So we got that. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, a little bit of some controversy potentially in Major League Baseball as well. Of course, we were talking about the Twins earlier this week, but also on Monday, the series between the Blue Jays and the Yankees went from nothing to really something, as the Blue Jays seemed to notice that Aaron Judge was glancing towards the dugout during his at-bat in the 8th inning, which was I think a 6-0 lead at that point, might have been 8-0 as well. But nonetheless, glancing over to the dugout was Aaron Judge. And then Well, a couple pitches later, he ends up taking one over the fence to extend the Yankees lead, and then caught the eye of the Blue Jays broadcast team and even the coaches that were none too pleased about that result as well. Aaron Judge did claim it as saying that some guys were chirping from the dugout and kind of was glancing towards them, unfortunate timing on his part, he says, but certainly did carry over into the next one as well, saying that there was in the following game as well on Tuesday, Yankees pitcher Domingo Germán was ejected for a sticky substance check in the fourth inning as well. And even one of the coaches for the Yankees being out of position for the coach's box that could quite possibly be stealing signs from the other team as well, from the Blue Jays. So a lot of something that was kind of boiling over even into the finale of the contest here earlier today between the Yankees and the Blue Jays as well. But even with going to the incident that happened on Monday with Aaron Judge peeking over in the dugout as well, but even then, the following game as well on Tuesday, he had another mammoth home run that the Blue Jays broadcast team kept well sure that his eyes didn't peek over towards the dugout, and he ended up breaking some signage at Rogers Center in Toronto. But should there be an absurd or approved some sort of punishment be given for the Yankees, if not Aaron Judge, for the incident that led to those home runs in that series against Toronto?
Oof. Well, this is just an interesting deal here, and I mean, good Lord, there's a lot of animosity between these two teams right now, and it's actually quite entertaining. It's turned into very similar, not the same as Boston, New York, that whole type of thing, but it seems like the fans are really getting into it and things like that, and it's causing people to have opinions on it, and Judge kind of going after the Jays, and the Jays going back after the Yankees. Boone getting involved in this situation with their third base coach who wasn't standing in the right spot or something like that, and the ump had to talk to Boone and Schneider, the manager for the Jays. So it's a whole big situation. I don't think so. I look at this situation. I think it's absurd. I kind of like the controversy surrounding it, especially with the Judge kind of responding to those guys by hitting that home run. And in the article here that we see, someone called him like a cheater or something like that. They booed him, but then he responded with a home run. So,
exactly.
I mean, he kind of shoved it right back in their face. He says, I got some choice words about that, but it's better to just keep that off record. So you just kind of, leave it as be, in regards to the glance.
Exactly.
But I don't know why you would add Glancy into this, but that's just me. I don't get it, but anyway. I think I look at this and just think, you know what? They're having a spat. I mean, did anyone necessarily cheat during that? I don't know. And then the umpire had to get involved and explain, to Boone, and Boone doesn't like this, Schneider doesn't like that. Just makes up for a good rivalry. I kind of like this deal. I like the controversy surrounding this. So yeah, I don't think they will. So Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you really can't say if there was something going on in the dugout. They were like tipping pitches, or even the pitcher that said that he threw one of those pitches to Judge that led to a home run, saying it was tipping pitches, and Aaron Judge took advantage as well. Like in an 8-0 or a 6-0 game at that point, that eventually made it 8-0. Like, what good is it going to do if you're stealing signs or whatever? Like, you're already winning. It's late in the game. You got it in the bag as well, especially a team that's already down to begin with. I don't really see how this is going to lead to any sort of suspensions. Well, I'd be very interested to see how future series end up being between these two teams, because they're going to play each other quite more often here in the next, the rest of the season as well. Them being in the same division too could very well come down to the very bitter end against these two squads too, especially in the AL East. That's very tight in a lot of areas, but I don't think any sort of suspension is going to come through with this. So it's completely absurd.
Yep. I just, even though it is the Yankees and we want to see the Yankees lose and whatnot, I just kind of like the controversy surrounding this. And Court says here, if your signs are that easy to be stolen, get better. Unless there's something that comes out about it, he doesn't need a suspension. The pitcher even came out and said he was tipping his pitchers. So there's a lot of that going on. I think, you just kind of let them play. I just feel like, let them play. And they'll complain about whatever they want to complain about, and there you go. You have a good rivalry, and then you have more content. And Judge getting in on this and kind of showing those guys like, hey, don't mess with me. And I enjoy it. I think it's fun to see a little bit of emotion with a lot of these the teams right now. So I like it. Stamp of approval for the content. I like it. So. That's going to do it for ARA this week. Great job, as always. Voldy, we had some good ones again, as usual. And it's time for some Shield shout-outs. Next week, 150. I mean, we're not going to do 150 Shield shout-outs. That's a lot of shout-outs to get through. That's that's a little excessive. Yeah, we could agree on that. That'll be a long, long Shield shout-out. So. Yeah, let's do some shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting at tonight?
Well, sadly, really only one shout-out to think of here for this week, and it goes to a legend in this game of poker that is 10-time World Series of Poker winner and legend Doyle Brunson sadly passed away this week as well. The age of 89, for those that may have tuned into a little bit of some World Series of Poker action, whether it was on ESPN, ESPN2 back in the day as well. The old man at the table, Doyle Brunson, sadly passed away here this week. That's right, a 10-time winner in the World Series of Poker that was at it for a long, long time. He sadly did pass away here this week. That's basically all I got here for Shield shoutouts this week. It's a little bit of a light week.
Oh, you know what? That's all right. I mean, as long as we get something, and obviously, rest in peace to him. And, World Series of Poker, a lot of people take that very seriously. So,
oh, yeah, definitely.
Very good. I guess, just kind of an added. We did at the beginning of the show, but Jordan Addison, officially a Viking, so we could kind of throw that one too. So we can go with that too. All right, great job with Shield shoutouts this week, as usual, Voldy. And let's just get right into it. And guys, we got merch. We got stickers. We've got hats. We got shirts.
Yep.
We could be getting more. You never know. So keep your eye out. You know the deal. For the hats, $20, $5 shipping. The shirts, $20, $5 shipping. The stickers, $2 for the small ones. $3 for the big ones that we do have still. They're starting to run out a little bit, though. They're starting to run out. So make sure you get it before. We're getting a new stock here, hopefully, soon. So be on the lookout. And then check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel. Launch 2.0 is back out again for him. Make sure you check that out on the socials medias or online, www.w2performance.com with Will Rattel. And thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. Make sure you check out the victorious P.O.D. with our guys Tyler Herman and Jack Vickers. Make sure you get caught up on all your fantasy needs because it's starting to creep up a little bit. It's still a ways off, but it's coming up there. And then make sure you check out our guy Troy Stoudemire Jr. with his TLS Performance. I don't know of anyone in Texas, but if you are, make sure you check out our guy. He'll get you in shape, get you the right way. He's got meals planned, everything, that whole deal. So shout out to Troy, the kick return king. So that's going to do it for MinneZona Sports Live this week. And again, next week is 150. So we're brainstorming.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy? I mean, I feel like we just did our 100 like a month ago. That's how it feels. I mean, and whatnot. So we're going to hit 150 episodes, and we'll do something special for that. And, just kind of have some fun like per usual. Make sure you tune in next week because I think it's going to be a lot of fun with myself, Shield, and all of you zoners. And we appreciate all you zoners for tuning in, especially Court for coming back. I missed you, Court, and I'm glad that we can rip on your Cowboys even more. But it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So, anyway, without further ado, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.